of our, we live, we good, we on. Cause we can do this shit all day.
We are live. Yeah, so we can.
Okay, word up.
Yeah, we can start it up.
Yes, sir. That's a good question, man. We
rolling
into this
foundation
thing
right now.
Yeah, we rolling into it, man.
Yeah.
I'll let Stefan do the intro and we'll take off.
For sure. Hey, so this is episode number 3 of That's a Good Question, TAGQ. And our guest today is Abib Jahleel.
What's going on?
He is a musician turned filmmaker and probably still a musician. Can we say that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He's an all-around creative, all-around artist. You know?
There it is. He should. Let's let you tell the story. So I guess we want to know first off, like, where are you from? Like, what's your background?
So I was born in Brooklyn. Originally from Brownsville, Brooklyn. My parents, my whole family pretty much is from Jamaica. And I moved to Atlanta when I was like 8 years old, south side of Atlanta. So, and I've been here ever since. So, yeah, I equally claim Jamaica, Brooklyn, and Atlanta because all of them are, a part of my book, so to speak. It makes me who I am.
And he came in at prime time.
Yeah.
Prime time from both places, from New York and coming into Atlanta. Those were prime times, man. For music, for sports, for the culture in general. Shit, Freaknik around that time. All that's going on around that time.
Yeah, 96. But yeah, I came here. It was definitely crazy. Now that I think about it, it's something that I didn't even realize until recently. Like, it was definitely the golden era in hip hop. Mm-hmm. Being in Brooklyn, being on those streets where Biggie walked and Jay-Z walked and all those people walked. And even, my family mingling with some of those people and me not even knowing because it's just a part of the community. It's just Brooklyn. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
To then come to Atlanta and experience Outkast, experience,
Goody Mob,
experience No Limit, experience Project Pat and that whole thing. You know what I mean? And just kind of getting that experience. It was definitely incredible and eventful. Freaknik. I would, I was too young to really go to Freaknik, but I definitely drove through Freaknik. You know what I'm saying? I definitely saw the festivities and had to kind of like take that in as a young man. So, it was interesting, very interesting. And then, both my parents are Rasta. Oh, so that, I didn't eat meat. You know what I'm saying? At all, growing up, except for
so
fish.
you were on this shit before it even
before it even got popular, man.
Yeah. All we ate was fish. We knew all of the little vegetarian spots or places that sold anything that was considered vegetarian.
Right.
It was like a network. Like you had to know. You know
oh
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's much easier in New York than it was in Atlanta for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but there was a lot of spots down here, and then getting into the Jamaican community down here, that was kind of slowly building. Right. And kind of finding those people to accommodate those diets was something that we definitely had to rely on until it became widespread. So, yeah, it's a lot of different layers to the perspective that I had coming to Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. I definitely want to ask, like, what can you spot out or remember the biggest differences between the cultures? And because New York has always been a place to us, and I feel like to the world. Because I remember my first time going to New York.
Yeah.
And being able to go to these little whatever, little Italy, little Jamaica,
little China, all that.
Like, and really feeling like I was in the culture of these places to where now you're coming to Atlanta where we're just now kind of slowly building this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Buford Highway would be
like,
kind of mixture of Asian and Latino
and I feel like
culture, Hispanic culture.
We still not at a place where it's as prominent as New York is,
or LA.
Yeah, or even LA. Yeah. So, like, what did you notice, or how did you feel coming into it? Did you feel like you had to start over? Like, yo, this shit is really not up to speed.
It's interesting too, right? Because New York. Okay, so for New York, you have all these different type of people, but you also have just as much diversity when you're looking at it from a perspective of like black people. So you have, African people, you have Caribbean people, that's Trinidadians, Haitians, Jamaicans. Then you have people, regular African Americans, people that's been in New York for generations, people that migrated from the South. You have Puerto Ricans, Afro Latina. You know what I mean? You have so many different. You have African descendant people from Panama, from Costa Rica. Garifuna people. You have so many different kinds of people that we all just at that point we all just black. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a cultural understanding. You have so many different movements for when you talk about liberation, whether it's the Nation of Islam, whether it's the Hebrew Israelites, whether it's the UNIA with Marcus Garvey. All of those lineages are in that city. So for us, or for me rather, coming to Atlanta, because I didn't know nothing about the South pretty much. I'm a kid. I'm thinking, when they said Atlanta, I'm thinking it's the KKK. But my mom and my father were savvy enough to know that Atlanta was a black city, and that was one of the reasons why they wanted to come here. So for me, I think as an adult looking back, I would say that it was interesting because it was mostly white and black in this city, but Atlanta is definitely a bastion in the South of black upward mobility, and it's one of the only places where you see the differences in class not along color lines. So you have a black middle class, black upper class, and then a black lower class, and that's just what it is in the city. So I think that was interesting to see. That was interesting to kind of buck up on, because in New York, you have almost like these warring factions, right? You have these labor unions in New York where everybody's kind of fighting for their place, and a lot of those labor unions are along color lines. So you pretty much have people think about the mafia and they think of organized crime, but really you're talking about these labor unions, right, that the mafia controlled. You're talking about Italians taking control of the city pretty much, and you have other ethnicities that are pretty much fighting for their place in that. You know what I mean? So what else? It was the Jamaicans in Brooklyn. Everybody know about the Jamaicans running Brooklyn, and what we did is carved out a space for ourselves essentially, and cooperated with the people that we could naturally cooperate with, was other black people. Was coming here to Atlanta was like, this is like y'all built this shit, in a way,
Sort of, yeah.
But they wasn't as familiar, I would say, with other black cultures.
Yeah.
So it was definitely it was definitely some rejection there, or some misunderstandings there, I would say. But for me, I never looked at any other kind of black people as not my people. So for me, it was just like, okay, this is just a situation where we just gonna have to learn about each other and just like it. But I've met some of the most amazing people in Atlanta. Atlanta has been very good to me. I love the culture down here.
Okay,
that's what's up, man.
So I put some questions together, man, just doing the research on you, and I just want to start off with, how did you get into music? What was your journey like to creating?
So that starts before I was even born. So my father was a reggae artist and then reggae producer later on, but he was doing. Music was his thing. That's just what he did, and that was his love, his passion, and so, he always had my older brother, Jabula, who's on the spectrum. He kind of kept close and taught him how to produce, and so my older brother was like the golden kid. That's like his nickname, and he was a producer. So I was always around him producing, and then my other older brother, Nashawn, he was kind of like, he was a rapper. He was the one that put me on to all the rappers in New York, like, whether it was Biggie, whether it was Nas, which is like his favorite rapper. Like he had all the underground tapes. He used to listen to Stretch and Bobito. I was just a little kid. I just wanted to play Star Fox.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But because I'm getting this education from him, because he's so into hip hop. My father's more reggae, more dub, more rock, ska, all that. So it's like I'm kind of just getting it without. I have no choice in the matter. You know what I mean?
You just around it. You gotta soak it in. I'm at this point. I'm just around
it, and like when they found out that I could rhyme, they was looking at me like, "Yo, where this come from?"
Come on.
For me, it was DMX was the first person that really spoke to me as a kid, because he wasn't
same.
Like, for me, I was listening to a lot of rhymes and it felt shallow, but I was a kid, so what did I know, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it felt shallow. But when I heard, DMX, because he got so big in the mainstream and he was talking about like real issues, he was really coming from the heart, I kind of related to him more.
Okay.
And that's what, and it was the passion. I'm an Aries, so I'm real fiery. So just that passion, like for real, So
no, me too. I am too. Yeah.
Hey, look, shout out. I knew, shout out to him. But it was the passion that got me. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what made me kind of pick up and kind of play around with rhymes. And, of course, I would be in school and acting like other rapper rhymes was mine and memorizing verses and just writing my own shit. And Yeah, man. It started at the lunch table like everybody else.
I respect it, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 pencils and
Hey, man.
in your palms. That's it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Word up.
I respect that, man. That's dope as hell, dude. I've always wondered, you know, how it was coming up in a family that actually had musical background. My dad had a small piece of musical background too. He did the promotions for Big Cat Records, which is where, you know, Gucci and all of them and Jeezy came from. So I've always been curious as to see and hear about people who have musical backgrounds, whether it be their parents or brothers, sisters, and shit like that. So that's dope as hell. And you're Aries at the same time. So being around music, I think you just soak it in. That's dope as hell too. So that's cool as shit, man. So I want to know what kind of music was playing. Like, what's the texture of your life around this time? Like, coming from New York, coming into Atlanta, was there a big difference in music being played when you walk outside? Like, what do you hear as you're growing up in these places?
So it was a lot of reggae, like a lot, like a lot of Barris Hammond, a lot of Sizzler, a lot of Capleton, a lot of Fred Lox, just all kind of reggae that you could possibly think of. And then I'm seeing these people because my father did music, and practically knows everybody, but I didn't know none of these people. I'm just a kid. You know what I'm saying? You know, he's throwing concerts and I'm seeing these people perform.
That's crazy, man.
And with my brother, it was, again, he was really into hip hop, so it was a lot of, you know, up north, like I said, Nas, Wu-Tang for sure. You know, a little bit of Jay-Z here and there, but mostly Nas, Mobb Deep. You know, he was from Brooklyn, but he was definitely listening to a lot of Queens artists for whatever reason. That was my brother for whatever reason. So it was a lot of that. But then, funny enough, you know, when we moved to Georgia, you know, we lived in this apartment complex, and we basically met the only other Jamaicans in the apartment complex because they kind of had ties to some people that my mom knew.
Bro, how do y'all do that? How do Jamaicans always find other Jamaicans? I don't know. How the fuck?
It's the network, man.
It seems to be like extremely, like, as soon as y'all move in,
it's the network.
And that may be across different cultures. Like, even for Asian cultures, it seems like
for Mexican people.
Bro. Like, as soon as they come to any other place, it's easy for them to just, like, look.
But
community unity, though.
Yeah,
not
man.
to get off subject, but like and this is just me, like my opinion. I feel like African Americans do the same thing. Like, if you look back and study the Great Migration, that's how it happened. It was like they moved. Like, if we was a family from Mississippi and you moved to Chicago, you got with other families that moved from Mississippi.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? So that was it's like a thing in our culture, just in general, that we're gonna link up with our people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sociology 101.
But we got up with some of these, like I said, the only other Jamaicans in the complex, and they started putting us on to like No Limit. And,
damn!
You know what I'm saying? Woo. And like, yo, shout out to my cousin Mike. Like, all he listened to was Master P, and Mr. Cool, and like all of them, just all of them. I like, for me, a lot of those Southern artists are like some of the best MCs to me. Like, Fiend is an MC to me.
Yeah.
You know, Project Pat, I put him up with any other MC.
Me too.
Those rhyme patterns and rhyme schemes are so intricate and so detailed. Like, sometimes when people talk about lyricists from the South, I won't get too off subject, man, but like people like Field Mob, like,
oh, bro, please take it there, bro. We're not even talking about the women.
Yeah.
I think some of the best women in the game were definitely Southern motherfucking.
Absolutely.
Lil Chat, and motherfucking Gangsta.
Absolutely.
Bro, what?
That chopping style. And see, just to kind of relate it to my upbringing, you know, during that time as well, dancehall was really, really big. And a lot of people don't know the roots of hip hop actually comes from, you know, Jamaica, right? With DJ Kool Herc, him bringing that up to New York. And, you know, it's interesting, right? Okay. So this part of the culture of hip hop was very big in Jamaica, because in Jamaica didn't get its independence until 1962. And so essentially you had two political parties that used to be labor unions vying for control of the country. One was more capitalist, they were more allied with the CIA. One was more socialist. It was more allied with Cuba and KGB. And, you know, they was fighting for influence on the island. So one of the things they would do is, you know, on a nefarious tip is that, you know, you would have like CIA operatives come in and training some of these gangs and giving them guns and stuff like that. And then on the other side, kind of the same deal. But one of the things they would do is they would have these public battles essentially called sound clashes.
Oh yeah.
And it would be, you'll have one sound system that was allied with one political party and another sound system allied with another political party.
I never knew that was political.
Time out. So it really was political like that?
Yeah, it was political. And they would battle and they would play the different sound systems, and then you'll have different essentially MCs that would get on the mic and they would chant and they would battle each other. Like, it's a showmanship, right? Like we was just talking about Verzuz.
Yeah.
And that's literally the way that they were bantering and acting is exactly how it would be. But you're talking about different neighborhoods vying for influence, because it was the difference between that neighborhood getting resources and support from the government and them not getting resources and support. So it was very real to them. And this is how they would go up against each other and battle and da-da-da. So you had a lot of that sound system culture in Jamaica and that chanting culture and being on the mic and cutting up and, you know, saying little phrases and little words.
Just to
and
get
rhymes.
under the skin of the other opponent.
Exactly.
Because you knew your livelihood depended on it.
Exactly. Right.
That's crazy. I did not know that, because we've had sound clashes with Red Bull in Atlanta. Like Atlanta's had those, and they were heavy Jamaica reggae influence. Like talking over the mic as the music played, like cutting in and out, like hyping up the crowd control, all of that shit we seen last night with Verzuz and Jada. Man, that nigga was not playing.
So that culture was already familiar to me, and so like dancehall music was, again, it was kind of blowing up in the 90s, and just the style, right? You have to really be in tune with patois and the language of Jamaica
to understand.
To understand. And I didn't know that as a kid, because I'm like, oh, we speak English, but we clearly don't, right? And, and so
man, that shit is so influential, dog. Like I can't tell you when I
how many things,
dog. When I first ran into, I think it was a chick from New Orleans. She was from New Orleans, and that shit was so beautiful. She instantly was a 10 in my motherfucking head just because of how she was talking. But when I heard that shit, being an Atlanta nigga, when I heard that shit for the first time, like that will never escape my brain. And then ever since then, like I've of course listened to Jamaican music. Like Duppy Gun is like my shit, because they've somehow put electronic music into Jamaican music, which really ain't somehow. That shit really started there, to be honest with you. Like the way that they mix music, I loved it so much because I had never heard it done like that before. So then I started just diving into Jamaican music and fucking reggae music all together. Of course, you know, you got your Bob Marleys. That's how we mostly get introduced. But for me, it was Duppy Gun. Yeah. Like Duppy Gun and Jabbar and all of those dudes. Like I was into that shit. And ever since then, like that kind of helped me get into jungle music, D&B, drum and bass. And then, you know, I'm playing video games and I'm hearing the influence in video games.
But that stuff, the I mean, especially jungle has that influence as well.
Yeah.
Like the whole dub or you know, sound system kind of thing with the toasting and all that. Yeah.
And
lick shots.
And so to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, right? Like, okay, so people forget that Jamaica was a British colony.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So our connection to Britain and that whole empire is strong. You get what I mean? Like we have Indians in Jamaica because of the reach of the British Empire. And so like you was talking about jungle and drum and bass and all that stuff, you know, these are basically African people and you know, Caribbean born African people going to the center of the empire, London, and influencing Europe through musical influence. You get what I mean? Yeah. But a lot of what we did in Jamaica as well, not for nothing, came from America as well, because we're listening to jazz, we're listening to bebop, we're listening to blues and all that influence as well. So like black music in general, man, it travels so far and the reach is so wide that I don't think people truly understand and appreciate it. And I was saying that to say, like, again, when I came here to Atlanta and I'm hearing, like you said, those New Orleans accents from No Limit or from Cash Money, I'm hearing Project Pat, I'm hearing 3 6 Mafia, I'm hearing these accents and these dialects it was easy for me to assimilate because from that dancehall background, from that reggae background, for me it was just another dialect. You know what I mean? And some of those words and the way that y'all flip y'all words and showing words and put stuff together, it sounds so similar to how we talk. It was like, okay, I get it. Especially when you talk about music,
right?
Because if you listen to dancehall, it's like the way that they chop their words is very similar to me, to my ear.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
I can see that.
So I had another question. Could you tell us like when you transitioned into filmmaking?
Yeah, that
as
was
a creator, I guess.
I want to say that was probably more gradual. I started doing videos and stuff. Well, I was actually already kind of playing around with video stuff because my father, man, sometimes I don't know if he get enough credit for how innovative and thinking that he was, because even when we was young, like when computers first started coming out, he bought like a gateway. Like he was like, I'm gonna sit down and learn this thing. You know, my father's one of the first people I've ever seen live stream, you know, DJ sets on like Justin TV or stuff, like, you know what I mean?
Wow.
On Uscreen and stuff like that. And I used to look at him like he was crazy. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like,
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna watch this.
Yeah.
And here we are watching live streams on Verzuz, right?
Oh,
So
man.
my dad was really
Twitch.
big into like burgeoning technology, and so I would always play around with the camera and things like that. And eventually one day I literally, directed and shot like my own video for myself. It sat down, didn't know how to edit, didn't know what the hell I was doing, and stayed up all night just cutting and editing my own video, syncing up the words and just doing the whole nine. And I think that's when I caught the bug. That was probably like late 2000s, like 07, 08, something around there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
pretty, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been doing it ever since, man. Just doing music videos and stuff like that. Like around the time we met,
Yeah.
a little bit after that, Truth had bought a camera. He had a T2i, and that's when DSLRs was like starting to get really big, and everybody started shooting their own music videos and stuff. And literally, man, from then on is when I really kind of started taking it serious, and doing music videos for a lot of different artists on the scene. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what's up, man. Because, I mean, we went through the catalog so far, and it's shown how much time you put into it. Like, the quality is there. My favorite part has been the angle so far, like how you capture the shots. And the coffee content and the
enthusiasts.
the coffee enthusiast was my favorite one for sure.
Appreciate that,
and
bro,
his
for real.
storytelling ability was amazing because I had never known the backstory until you captured it. So
Yeah.
I was fired, dude.
Appreciate
I
that,
fuck
man.
with it.
And yeah, and shout out to Div, man. Who I was interviewing on that video, and shout out to a lot of the artists that I've worked with and creatives that I work with, because I try to really find the thing that makes them tick or the thing that makes them move as a creative and just springboard off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of what I do is just observe and kind of figure out perspective. Like I feel like perspective is everything.
Yeah, same here.
And you can really like fine tune that visually.
Yeah.
When you're doing like music is one thing because you're only thinking about audio. You're only thinking about how you're saying it, the way it sounds, what frequency. With visuals, it's like you have to take into account everything, like visuals, audio, color, like everything, And so for me, it's like the ultimate form of creation.
Yeah, because you have to figure out a way to tangibly make that, like
Right.
as an MC or as a poet or as a writer. Your words can do that, and you just let the imagination do the rest. You can let the imagination do 90% of it as long as you got the words. But to visually do this shit and to capture people visually, and for it to match up with how wild their imagination can be, that takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a hell of a lot. I respect filmmaking. I grew up on films. Like films damn near raised me along with music. So along with the words and the visuals, like I would sit there and just dig through films day in and day out as a teenager.
Yeah.
And my love for art, my love for architecture and frames and how things are shot and seeing things as frames and color theory and all this other shit came from just sitting down and watching films all the time, picking up game as a man, how to be as a human, how, through history films, how fucked up we could be as humans, from religion and how and things that we developed to keep us hinged as humans. like a lot of that came from film.
Right.
Like a lot of that came from watching the perspective of other people, other humans like
Absolutely.
me. So yeah.
And I feel like too, like you know, as I've matured as a filmmaker, you know, I really didn't have my center because I was so focused on trying to learn the craft. Right. I had my center as an artist, as a musical artist, but not necessarily as a filmmaker yet. But I would say these last 5 or 6 years is when I really kind of started to hone in. And it's because I rediscovered, you know, my African heritage. Because I, you know, growing up as a Rasta, I knew I was African before I knew I was Jamaican. Like that's just like, you know, I just knew. Like, and everybody around me that was black, I was like, yeah, we all African. You know what I mean? Like I just had that understanding. So I never really took the time to kind of dive into it because I kind of like felt like I already knew. But as I got older, I realized that like it's not common that everyone doesn't feel the same way. Everyone doesn't value the culture the same way. And so I kind of wanted to dig deeper into the culture much more than just, you know, it was a lot of focus on Egypt. There's a lot of focus on slavery. And I'm like, okay, but like, how do we get here? Right. You know what I mean? And I wanted to understand what was it like before we were here. And so once I started really digging deeper into African history and kind of finding my place as a filmmaker, I started to really understand what I was doing and why I was doing it. And so like, for instance, there's, you know, oral historians in African culture. You know, there's a word for it in Senegal called griots. And so once I kind of started looking at myself from that lens, it was easier for me to understand the tools that I had and what stories I wanted to tell and how I wanted to tell them. You know, once you start learning African mythology, once you start learning about African culture and African history, you kind of understand what I would say is African philosophy, right? You understand the perspective of Africans and how they viewed the world, how they interacted with the world. And so I kind of try to draw from that lens, from a humanistic lens, and try to show that, you know what I mean? And so as a filmmaker, man, I would say, honestly, in the last 5 or 6 years that I've matured so much, you know, to kind of take off the constraints of me doubting myself when I was younger and trying to learn the craft and trying to learn the angles and rules of third and all of that and just start creating. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, really. And I'm still evolving, still learning, still growing into that. But that's where I draw from. I draw from my ancestors for sure.
Do you see any similarities in creation of music versus creation of, you know, your filmmaking?
Yeah. I would say I want people to feel something at all times, regardless if it's music or films. I want you to feel something. Like the best movies to me make you feel something. You get what I mean? That asks questions that also, you know, doesn't always have an
answer.
An answer or an easy answer.
Or make you ask questions.
Or it makes you ask questions. You know, I like philosophy, you know.
Same, yeah. Psychology.
I like that a lot. And so I try to look for those kind of moments. And that's one of the reasons I was taken to DMX, you know, to understand his story. Even Eminem, when I started listening to him, you know, after DMX, it's really, for me, it was more like the mythos of the character. Like these rappers to me were like Greek gods almost, you know what I'm saying? Or African deities. It's like knowing their stories was just as important as the music. So I think with music and film, it's really just what story am I telling? You know, what story am I telling and what feeling am I going for? And I think that's usually the main question I ask myself when I'm creating either one, music or film.
Okay. Storytelling is so important. A lot of people don't know how to do it, because there's like a whole class on just storytelling in general and how to actually tell a proper story. And it sucks because once you figure out the art of storytelling and you kind of know how it builds, you see it every fucking where. Like at a certain point, I try to even turn it off because I can't even enjoy a movie anymore because I already know the fucking story. Yeah, like dude, like it's like I don't know. It's like putting on a certain type of glasses or a certain type of lens. It's like, yo, okay, I've heard of Humpty Dumpty. I know the history of Humpty Dumpty, and we all know the history of Humpty Dumpty and how the story goes. And you just see that in films. You hear it in books. Like you just start to peep it, and it's hard to turn the shit off because you like I said, you know how it's gonna play out at the end. You know when he's gonna fall at some point. And the content creators, whether it be big ass studios or small time content creators, they're all using the same templates.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same story. It's just who can tell it in a very extravagant way at this point.
Or how can we get this message across?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's one of the reasons, like, for me, like, the reason I focus so much on African history is because it's like, yo, I think sometimes when we talk about this, like, I don't know, we get so caught up in, like, the mechanisms of society, you know, upper class, lower class.
Agreed.
You know, we get so caught up in, you know, even when we talk about as black people, it's like, well, Africans, so Africans. And it's these quick one sentence. And I'm like, yo, do you realize that there was a family, right, that lived in an area or a city, a metropolitan city in Africa, and, you know, there was sisters and brothers and cousins and a whole clanship and lineage, and they loved each other, and they farmed, and they did this and did that. And this little boy who probably was going to get initiated to be an ironsmith or something got snatched up and taken away from his mom and father, who he probably loved. And this mother is now grieving for the fact that she don't know where her son is.
at.
And her son that got carried across the water is your great grandfather. Do you get what I'm saying? Like these are human beings that we're talking about. You know,
origin
we
stories.
so caught up being here in this in this convenience.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Yeah, like it's just we living in a lap of luxury or trying to get there, not realizing that.
Oh, compared to other cultures and countries, man, we definitely here. Like the shit that we dealing with right now, compared to other places, is far beyond comfortable.
Even France, man, France right now they doing the whole thing with the thing, you know.
Yeah, like far beyond comfortable. I mean, that's our common enemy right now is that. But before this whole shit popped off in 2020, which we'll definitely get to because we were curious how everyone got through that.
For sure.
Period, and how we're getting through that period. But before that, man, this shit, we really don't have. When you don't have problems, you start to create problems, and a lot of our problems are inbound right now, like the battle of the sexes, and you know the shit we dealing with
division.
Yeah, just identity politics, and like all the shit that we're dealing with right now. We can afford to do that. Like we can afford to have those problems.
But I think one of our main problems is not knowing our history.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you've been talking about, you know, knowing who you are as a Jamaican, as somebody from Brooklyn, as somebody from here now, and putting all those things together and taking it back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then learning who that part of me is, or that part of you is, or that part of us are. Yeah. We are. You know what I'm saying? And I think when we're over here, like, we got our whole culture taken away. You know, there is no black town. It's the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think like when you came and you linked up with the Jamaicans here, only other Jamaicans in the apartment complex, like y'all created that link. And I think I agree with you when you said that's a part of us that we all have to come together and link up, because we do. Yeah. We do. We all get together and link up. But I think there are some of us who are lost who link up, and we link up in lostness.
Yeah.
And our loss.
Agree.
I agree. And I think it's difficult because, you know, we're dealing with something that's active. And I think oftentimes we think it's reclusive, and it's not. You know, we're dealing with something that is actively trying to guarantee that we don't click up. And, you know, it's hard to see that when you're in the belly of empire, right?
Exactly.
Because, you know, like, we used to be colonies of European powers, and everything that we produced, right? This was literally built by merchants. Everything that we produced was to feed those nations, those countries, those kingdoms in Europe. And, you know, once America kind of broke off from the yoke of British imperialism, so to speak, you know, they started to build out their own empire and started to you know, build other ways of creating revenue and to build up their country. And so we oftentimes don't realize that, like, some of the luxuries that we love and know in America is coming from the places where black people live and thrive and strive. You know what I'm saying?
Bauxite.
Yeah.
Yo,
right.
I just saw something about bauxite and how the fucking Reynolds rap people was doing this 1950s commercial, like dun 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 dun. welcome to Jamaica, beautiful Jamaica, where you could take a vacation, and down the street niggas is making aluminum foil and sending it to fucking America, and it's just like,
wow.
And it's sometimes I feel like I don't know if people realize what they say when they like, this is the greatest country ever. It's like, yeah, it is, but why?
but it's eating
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, do you know why it's the greatest country ever? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's like that connection is not there. It's just like it's disconnected. Like, yo, 90% of coltan and cobalt like comes from the Congo. You know what I'm saying? And like without that coltan and cobalt and the other minerals, like we wouldn't have computer chips. You know, we wouldn't have iPhones and Androids. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like sometimes I don't think people understand how deep this shit really is.
You just know the final result. I mean? That's like, it. They just know the final result.
I mean, because we get to eat off of it, but in order for you to eat off something, in order for that baby to be fed, the mother has to eat. And this culture, this country is eating off of a lot of people. It's eating a lot of people. It's eating a lot of countries. It's eating a lot of
us.
Oh yeah, it still is.
Right now.
But in order for it to feed us, it's had to eat.
Yeah,
it's had decades to do so. It's had years to do so. So for a very long time, it's been eating a lot of motherfuckers.
And that's really where I come from with it. It's just I just want people to see themselves as human.
That's deep.
Like this is you. Like, you know, when you look at Jamaicans, you're not looking at other people. You're looking at yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We're looking at ourselves. You know, when we look at Americans, when we look at Africans, when we look at people from Panama, like we're looking at ourselves. You know, there are people from America who left and went to Haiti and the Dominican Republic when Haiti won its freedom, you know, and they were Americans from Philly, and they still have generations of family down there. You know what I'm saying? Like you have people that migrated all the time and they never stopped migrating. This was always a big pot of black people. And I don't think people understand that, you know, that we were all fighting this thing called slavery together. There were free people who were fighting as abolitionists in England and then in America, you know what I'm saying? The Somerset case in the 1700s. And then there was people like my lineage that I come from on my mom and my father's side of the Maroons in Jamaica who literally escaped the plantation and fought the British and won. You get what I'm saying?
Man, that's powerful, man. That's really powerful. That's in you, man. That's in your DNA strength, man.
Pumping.
And meanwhile, you know what I'm saying? In Florida, you have, you know, St. Augustine, Florida. You had Fort Mose. You know, you had the Black Seminoles who were fighting against the British, you know, with support from the Spanish. So I'm saying all of that to say, like, this was a multifaceted, like, multi-layered, like, war. You know, like, it was black people fighting for the liberation of black people. And I think oftentimes when we allow them to, like, frame our narrative, we look at it as if they were the liberators, and it never went that way. And all I'm trying to do as a filmmaker is hopefully one day be able to kind of like put that story together so people can see. You know, I pay attention to scholars like Dr. Greg Carr. I read a lot of books from people like Gerald Horne, and they, you know, Dr. Greg Carr, for instance, he's head of Africana Studies at Howard University. So these people, like, this is what they do. You know, they've been in this fight. When you start talking about Black history and the education system in America, these are the people who are fighting that fight. These are the teachers that made sure that some of that stuff was added to the curriculum. And I don't think that we, you know, give those educators the light that they need. And
for sure.
Well, there's a conversation about who we're worship or giving our energy to. Like, we give our energy to. How about this? We don't glorify the intellectuals in our community. We glorify the de-intellectual. Or let's call it the entertainers.
We're just gonna call them the ones who make it look cool. But I feel like there's a good intersection for all of that.
The Venn diagram.
I feel like there's a good middle place for all of that to happen, because it takes a certain amount of intellect to even get to a point of entertainment, to even be a hip hop artist or a rapper, to get to those places. It takes a certain amount, at least effort, interpersonal skill, a little bit of interpersonal, and a lot of social, to know who to keep around you, to know who to hire, to know where to go, where not to go,
and to frame the conversation. Because really what I think the role of our intellectuals is to frame that conversation. I don't think that we would devalue our own culture as much as we do if we frame that conversation. So even the way we talk,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
usually we're not like. How about this? I think like Rolling Stone has said Beyonce has the best. She's the the best. She has the best music video ever. Nobody told you to take Michael Jackson out the picture. That nigga started music videos. Like what are we talking about?
Right. Right.
I saw that on the show that I watch, and they brought up that argument. I was like, yeah.
But it always seems to be. It seems like there only has to be one. It's like y'all only get one slot. Like we gonna move this nigga out the way. We gonna put Beyonce here. But if y'all want somebody else, you gotta move Beyonce out of the way. Yeah. It's like it's only room for a few of you niggas. It's not gonna be that many of y'all. It's only gonna be room for a few.
And that's another thing too. I'm glad you said that, man, because like for me, I'm not as a filmmaker, right? I'm not too much interested in this particular how do I put it? I don't even want to say the word system.
Society?
In this
atmosphere, really.
Yeah. Like we know who controls this now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes because Hollywood, Hollywood and American media is so powerful that we sometimes get stuck in this one place.
Yes.
And there's like a whole world out there of other people that I think sometimes we just like reject or just like ignore.
Yeah.
You know
we think it's bootleg.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, even if you look at the numbers, right? Like the numbers in America, like for instance, there's only like 329 million people, give or take, something like that, right? In Nigeria alone, it is 200 million Black people, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and then there's the rest of the continent, man.
Right. And
That's crazy.
Nollywood is like the third, sometimes second biggest movie industry in the world, right? But you don't hear those type of statistics.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and so therefore you don't even care, you don't even think about it. To even think to make a movie for Nollywood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you just get 10 million people in Nigeria
to watch your shit, you
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even think of it like that.
And you don't even have to be a part of the American Western stratosphere.
Yo.
You don't even have to. It don't even
Ain't
matter.
no Netflix, Nolly flicks.
You know what I mean? And then so you have Asia and Africa and even Europe that are kind of like taking in each other's content. And here we are in America thinking that, oh well, we the
biggest ones.
Meanwhile, Afrobeat is like one of the biggest genres in the world.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Of course.
And they play that everywhere.
You
know, so I think, when it comes to that, like you said, like this is who they allow. They only want one.
Yeah.
I was like, well, fuck who they want. For real, I really don't care about this particular industry. Like, I love Atlanta in particular because, man, this is one of the greatest places for Black creatives that I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Definitely.
It's slowly dwindling down. I mean, I've heard some things about even Castleberry. Like, it's an interesting time for this motherfucking place. I will say that.
I think that eventually the cities is going to be under a certain control. You know what I mean? To where you're going to be either you're going to be in this thing or you're going to be out of this thing.
Yeah.
And I think as creatives, all I can do is speak for myself. To speak for myself, I need a certain amount of freedom or a certain type of freedom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the cities, especially during, the pandemic, there were shortages on stuff.
Right.
So many people, they have to go to this one grocery store in this particular zone. You know, like what's going to happen when everything's not available for everybody? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then there's not a lot of room to grow your own or to do your own thing unless you're creative with that. That's true. I've seen in other countries like Vietnam where they've mandated every skyscraper has to have like 30% of natural greenery growing off of it.
Okay,
So they're forcing their, the builders there and the architects there to develop those new standards of living with green, with food from the building. Like this is a thing that I think America is not a forward thinking place. Yeah. Because I think we've had our head up our ass for so long. Yeah. And we haven't thought about that, those things because we've had so much space. We've had, picking the fruits off of other countries' labor and shit like that. So
we were definitely gluttonous, very gluttonous. Fucking.
I think for us though, I think it's important as Black people that we kind of understand our network and create those safe havens in those places.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like the ideas that you're talking about are like innovative and amazing. And I think instead of us looking at ourselves as a part of this American experiment, if we all looked at ourselves as you know, a unit. You know what I mean? Different
And a part of that.
Right.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
diverse. We're different. We have different skill sets and different attributes, but we're all kind of coming together for the same thing. I think it'll be a much different conversation, and I think that a lot of that's already happening right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially now, man.
Yeah, like one of my dreams, honestly, in you know, next 5 or 10 years, I hope to definitely be more connected in Jamaica. Some of the things I'm working on now, and be more connected in Ghana. Like I want to settle in Ghana. I want to buy some land. Like I want to create a town specifically to incubate like film ideas and like film locations and you know, like studios like this, and like just a place where people can come and like create, you know what I mean? Like a self-sustainable environment for creatives. Like I want to create that, you know what I mean? I want people to be comfortable enough to take a trip over there and know that they'll have a safe place to stay and create some dope shit. Like I hope and I pray, and I think even without me doing, I think that people are forward thinking and are doing it to have places where we can go in like fucking Colombia and Panama and
Costa
Brazil,
Rica, all these places,
Costa Rica, and go and just chill out and create some dope ass content. And so that's my mission. That's what I'm pushing for.
Is that I create arts mission? Because that's one of the questions.
Yes, absolutely it is. You know, I want to definitely implement some of these things before proclaiming it, but that's absolutely my mission. You know what I mean? I'm 33. You know, who knows how much time I got? You know what I'm saying? And I want to do that. I want to make sure that I dedicate as much time as I have left to doing that, because ultimately that's gonna curate the thing that I want to see. If I don't do it, I know that by providing that type of environment, that 10, 20, 30, 40 years, somebody
is gonna
complete. Yeah.
Power of the tongue is real, man. So we're gonna proclaim that shit right now. It's definitely happening.
Hey, man, the bridge.
Yeah, man. We definitely putting that in the air, as much as possible.
What up?
So we talking about being a part of something else, not being a part of this house that they created.
Yeah.
So we talked about Tone Dot Vision the last time me and you got together.
Yeah.
And hope I'm not mistaken, but you have a type of ownership in that.
Yeah, so I co-own it with so shout out to Alfred Nomad, shout out to Greg Nice, DJ Greg Nice, and the whole Love Collective period. But so me, Alfred Nomad, and DJ Greg Nice, you know, we have ownership in Tone. You know, and much love and support from everybody who contributes, from the whole Love Collective and everybody. What we wanted it to be was more like I guess the best way to explain it was less like YouTube, more like, man, what is that thing called again?
And Tone Dot Vision it's your own place where you guys host your own content.
Yeah, so it's a video streaming platform.
Right.
It's fully curated. You know, we work with people who, you know, I mean, just to be quite honest, like we like their shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. People
like,
you fuck with.
Yeah,
very similar.
Creative, you know what I'm saying? And so we just invite people to contribute. You know, it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like Vimeo or Patreon, where, you know, we definitely invite people to upload their stuff, and like you can utilize it in a way where if you want to sell your content, you can. If you want to put it behind a subscription payment, you can. But ultimately, what it is we want it to feel like when you come here, you know that like you're getting dope creative content from some dope, you know, content creators.
Okay.
And that's kind of the look and feel that we want. We want it to kind of feel like the Cool Kids Club, or we want it to kind of feel like a place that like, yo, these people take the craft seriously.
Yes.
You know, you're gonna get quality if you come here. That's kind of the idea behind it. So, yeah, that, you know, we just, I mean, right now everything is so saturated. And if you kind of notice, you can kind of see that curation is the new wave, because there is so much saturation.
Yeah.
I'd like to piggyback off that and say in the NFT space, it's very much so about curation, especially on the music side of the game. I've had a few different companies come, and basically what they were bringing to the table is like anybody can make an NFT of anything, basically. Yeah. But we want to be the place where people come to look for this particular type of music. And I think curation is done with, you know, these little boutique stores and everything. If you come at it with the specificness and a niche, it might be easier to go farther, or it might make it make it easier to go farther.
Yeah, go deep and go further instead of going across and trying to do a million things, which is how a lot of these platforms started. You know, everyone was just
Yahoo
testing the waters.
Yeah, word up. And I think honestly too, it's a testament to Atlanta, right, or in the Atlanta scene, because I mean, you know how we came up. Like, I feel like there's some big unsung heroes in the Atlanta scene, and I'm specifically talking about curators. So you know what I mean? The Jay Goods of the world. You know, like I said, Alfred Nomad. You know, even back when we was running around in Morian and how he was curating. You know what I'm saying? All of these people that curate the different DJs, the different crews. It's so many people, so many people that even curating, you know, music selection on these websites that we used to always go to,
right?
You know, Greenmount Park when we was
I remember that.
Yo, big shout out to Greenmount, man. I still got some of them records.
Yeah,
I still got some of them downloads.
Greenmount Park, wow.
And I think that's the shit that because I told you last time I was here. I think when we did the first episode, the shit you did with Ethereal. Like, that was on the Greenmount Park tape.
Yeah. Shout out Ethereal, man.
Yeah.
That shit was on the Greenmount Park tape.
Yeah, so that's really, I mean, curation have always, I feel like, always been the lifeblood of hip hop in general, but also just the creative scene in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so interesting to kind of see that now transfer from the analog space to the digital space, like you was talking about with NFTs.
Yeah.
All these different streaming platforms.
Yeah.
So, you know, Tone is just our addition to that. You know, we want to curate a space as well, and I think we got some shit.
That's dope.
Now,
that's for sure.
I'm sorry to cut y'all off.
Oh no, you good. You good. I'm affirming, man. That's damn shit for sure.
Yeah.
So did you guys have plans to like grow it? And I guess I wanted to know, how do you approach growing something like that? You know, I guess that might be a vague question or open-ended.
Not actually, it's not. I mean, it's a lot of this, really, a lot of planning, a lot of talking, a lot of, you know, kind of really honing in on our vision, and just growing pains. You know, figuring out what's working, what's not working.
Yeah.
What direction we want to go through. You know, balancing each other's schedule because we're all busy as
right.
well. That sort of thing. You know, anything creatively that I do, I'm doing it with the thought in mind of Tone. You know what I'm saying? That's like, for me, I feel like that's my creative outlet. You know, I do cinematography. Like, I have my production company, which is a shirt I'm wearing, Oka Productions, and that's more so, you know, front facing, working with clients, that sort of thing. That's what funds, you know, my freedom. You know,
damn.
Hand claps to that shit for having. For funding your own goddamn freedom, man.
That's so powerful, man.
That's what this shit is about, man. That's probably our biggest message, is to get to that point and that threshold to where you can really do the shit that you love. And it take dedication when that motivation gone, man.
Absolutely.
So we respect you.
I appreciate it. I quit my job like a month and some change ago.
Oh wow!
Yo, let's get it, man.
Oh man,
that's
this
what
is
the fuck I'm talking about.
This is real,
bro.
man.
Yeah,
this is so real, and I look at it as an inspiration, man. Because
straight up,
my goal is to live off my ideas.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
Straight up,
exactly.
And I think that's real living, man. Because I don't think I can do the work for somebody. You know, because every time I get off, I'm asking myself, what can I do?
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah, to maximize this shit.
Yes, to do it. You know, to get off of this shit.
I'll be at my old job, I'll be at that job for like 8 hours. I did logistics, so it was like a lot of computer work, working with clients. But like, man, it got to a point where I was so good at my job that I had so much extra time, and I wouldn't take it for granted. I would do some research, I would listen to some podcasts, I would read some books. But it was still like, man, even with all that reading and podcasts and listening and learning, I was like, man, I could be at home
doing this shit,
editing and filming.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
if I could wake up and put 8 hours of my day into my shit, you know, as hard as I'm working for this,
another nigga pockets,
it's crazy,
man.
So
what?
yeah, man, that was my inspiration for quitting, man, and you know, I just been ripping and running ever since. But anything creative, anything that frees me up to be creative, and anything that I do creatively, like when I came and, you know, I had the honor of interviewing
man,
you know,
how did that go? I don't think we even dove into that.
That
like,
shit got deep.
Where can we even find it? Where can we grab it?
Great question. That's a good question.
Yeah,
Tone That Vision.
Tone That Vision.
So I'm in the midst of finishing up, because I've been filming this for like like past 3 years maybe.
Wow.
Different creatives and people that I'm close with and people that I admire. And so I'm gonna be putting it out real soon, but it's gonna be on Tone That Vision. So anything creative I do, in my mind, is that's where it's going.
That's the label then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Tone That Vision.
Yeah.
However we can help, bro. Just let us know, man. Push the hell out of it for sure.
So okay. Damn. We done ran through my little set of questions because, man.
So is there a new project coming out? Like, I know you heavy on building a business and cinematography, but that motherfucking Marcus Garvey joint.
Oh, the Ghost of Marcus. Hey. So if you tuned in, go pause the video, go check out the Ghost of Marcus Garvey, Abib Jahleel, Bandcamp.com, right? Mm-hmm. Listen to that shit.
Yeah, just come back and let us know how you
yeah.
Appreciate it. You know what? So there is something I'm working on. We actually just started working on it, and I'm actually going to be hitting them up tomorrow. So my boy Alan Thomas.
Oh yeah.
So we working on a project together, man, that I'm really, really excited about.
Yeah.
It's gonna be visual. It's gonna be, it's gonna be music. It's gonna be audio. It's gonna be poetry. It's gonna be rhymes. It's gonna be narration. But it's essentially like the story of my life, but from the perspective of on the backdrop of like my parents, what they had to go through before getting here, and
that sounds hard.
Yeah. So I don't want to put a stamp on it to say exactly what it's gonna be, but it's definitely gonna be an experience, and so I look forward to kind of finishing that up and getting that out to the people.
Okay,
that's what's up, man.
Okay,
I'm with that. I'm definitely. Where's that gonna be? You gonna drop it on Bandcamp as well?
Well, it's gonna be it's more like a film.
It's probably gonna be on Tone That Vision.
Definitely on Tone. Definitely.
Oh yeah, for sure. Everything in house.
Yeah, definitely on Tone. Definitely on YouTube. And we'll figure it out. As me and Alan kind of finish it up and talk about it. But it will be accessible to the people, to the masses for sure.
That's what's up.
Okay.
So if you were to get rid of all your content, everything you've done so far, what's one thing you would leave for the people, like to let them know who you were in this life, your plans for the future? What's one thing you would keep? One thing we can hold on to.
As far as like what I've done already?
What you've done, yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
That's a deep one.
Hey, that's a good question, man. We gotta ask them questions.
That's damn.
We gotta ask them questions.
Go ahead and
we gotta
say it.
Find out.
That's a good question.
I would say that's funny. Shoot, you know what? Honestly, I would say go to Marcus Garvey. And the reason I would say that is because that's what's gonna set the stage and set the mood for everything else they experience. Because you can't really experience what I create without experiencing that perspective. And it's not something that I, as a creative, I want to be on the nose about. Like, I'm definitely not trying to be out here giving speeches.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want you to know that this is the perspective I'm coming from. So when you consume my art, understand that that's the palette that I'm pulling from.
That's fine, man.
That's it, man.
That's the one.
So we need, can we put it in the...
Absolutely.
Fade it out with the book, fade out with Ghost of Marcus Garvey.
I was hoping you say yeah, because
by all means, if let's let it rock.
Damn. Okay, so I feel like we had a good point, man. We about pretty much did an hour. I want to say thank you for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro.
And just blessing us with your experience and just all the information that you've shared upon us, man.
Yeah, and that Jamaica, New York, Atlanta perspective. Yeah, I know I'm gonna go back and watch this shit again.
Hold on. Okay, one more question though.
Okay.
Lox versus Dipset. We never got to talk about this on the record.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't go deep into it.
So the Verzuz
I know you
battle.
had to watch that shit.
Absolutely. So I caught it from the middle.
Okay.
And man, Jada was like my spirit animal. Like yo, for real, man. Because like I don't know if people understood what they were seeing when they was watching that Verzuz, and that was a pure example of the tradition of hip hop. You know what I mean? That showmanship and that master of ceremony. Because a lot of times when we say MC, we just thinking of like bars on bars and multi-syllable, and it's like nah, like that's an MC, right? Yeah. That man was the master of the crowd. You know what Straight I mean? And that showmanship, that they went and practiced that they had that down pat.
With the DJ, man.
With the DJ. memorize all their rhymes, was able to be flexible and switch it up and play off of the opponent. Like, that was hip hop. And I know for a fact everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. You know, when you see a dope guitar player, when you see a dope drummer, you know that everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a difference. So, man, that shit to me was incredible.
Witnessing greatness, man.
Yeah.
They did not come to play.
Yeah, man.
At all.
I think that was a difference in the eras as well, man. Like, I feel like the Cameron era, you know, like that era was more, oh man, we got money.
Wavy.
Nigga, we
saucy,
got money. Nigga, look. We got bitches, you know, whatever. But I feel like the you know, what they was talking about, Styles P and all them, they was getting to it. You know what I mean? Like, they were working, you know what I mean? Like,
and you know what? And that's some New York shit too. Because like, if you don't understand Harlem versus where they come from, Yonkers, you not really know. You don't know what's
going on.
Like, what you see from Dipset, even from the Dipset era, is like, yo, that's Harlem. Like, that's what they do. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Flashy.
That peacock and that. Like, that's just the energy in Harlem. You know what I'm saying? And Yonkers and the surrounding areas, man, especially like Yonkers, I would say it's closer to the Bronx, I would say. You know what I'm saying?
Which is more blue collar, you would think?
Well, I mean, just because the Bronx is like, you know, that's the beginning of hip hop.
Yes.
You know, so that tradition is strong in that area. Whereas, you know, Harlem, like, is hip hop culture is big there too, but Harlem has a longer culture of just black culture in general.
Because of that Renaissance and all of that stuff.
All of that, you know, you're talking about the Harlem Renaissance. I mean, like, James Baldwin is from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X used to preach in Harlem. So Harlem has a deeper history than just hip hop. So a lot of times what you're looking at is like it's a lot more than just hip hop. You're looking at a lot. You know,
their pride just showed different.
Yeah.
Their pride showed differently, but at the end of the day, this entertainment highway that we're on right now is rap. And them niggas came to rap. Them niggas came to
straight up
murder whatever the fuck from. I mean, the DJ was so in sync, bro.
Yeah, man, that shit was crazy. That shit was crazy, man. Shout out to Dipset. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Lox.
For sure.
But Jada, man, he made me reconsider my top 5. Because I was like, yo, Jada. And he said it right, top 5 Dead or Alive.
Dead or Alive.
He did.
I woke up and listened to it. I woke up and went to his greatest hits because that nigga definitely, I'm like, bro, I forgot all about that record.
Hey, man.
I was sitting there like, I stand corrected. Like, this man is clearly top 5.
Because I really wanted Camden to win because in high school, middle school, that's what the shit we was on. Like, that's the backdrop to me walking to work and like going to cook at fucking Zaxby's. I was listening to shit like that. Like Cameron and like, yo, I'm gonna get out of this shit. Nigga still wavy. I'm throwing these tenders in here, but a nigga still get
still got my
I'm still motherfucking I'm still me out here. Like, fuck this. You know, like they show their pride differently. You know, like it's who can get the girls, who's the flashiest, who can get the waviest, who's the most popular and wherever they at. And in high school, that was me. Like, I knew everybody, you know, like I was the nigga who wasn't attached to everyone, but I knew all the crews. So that was my backdrop to getting through high school. And the Lox reminded me why I fuck with them niggas though.
Right.
Man, I just can't, like, you know, whenever I think of Jadakiss, I think of I forget what song it is, but he was in the video. He was in, you know, with the top down, and he had bounty paper towel wrapped around his head as a bandana. Yeah. And that's when I realized, oh, they different.
Oh yeah, them niggas is different.
These niggas is different.
I can see the quilted quicker picker upper in that shit. I was like, okay. Jadakiss is different.
Yeah, for real.
But man.
Thank you again, bro.
Thank you.
This shit has been enjoyable. For sure.
Yeah. Word up.
Episode 2.
Episode
3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, episode 3.
Episode 3. Abib Jahleel was our guest, and thank you for coming. Any links you want to put out, or any social media
project?
Definitely check out Paid in America, paidinamerica.com. You know, those are my peoples. That's home team right there. Shout out to Smokey DB. Shout out to the Love Collective, man. Definitely check out Tone.Vision, our streaming platform. If you need some cinematography, if you need a project lead, if you need a photographer, if you need any creative work, check out okaproductions.com. If you want to follow me, I'm at iCreateArt.atl on IG. Or just search for I Create Art or Abib Jahleel, and you'll find me, man. So, word up. I appreciate you guys for the opportunity, man.
For sure, man. Thank you.
for being
You already
here.
know I'm YIN_ the Curator, YIN_ the Curator, and then Stefan.
Yeah, that's Stefan _Ringer _ FWM on IG. You can go to the website, to the label site, FWMENT.com. I got merch up there. I got records up there. Also digital music for sale. You can hit the Bandcamp, FWM Entertainment.bandcamp.com. Go up there. I got records, merch, music. Yeah.
We dropping merch for. That's a good question.
Yeah. We got some cool shirts on the way. Follow, subscribe, hit the like button. Goddamn. Yeah, man. Peace, love, power to everybody out there, and stay healthy, y'all.
Thank y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.